Diet Coke, of course, because, sugar sings, and then pants free.
Amazon brought a remake of The Lord of the Flies to our screens with The Wilds. Only this time, they're all female. The show is about teenage girls who were headed for a retreat in Hawaii, but got stranded on an island after their plane crashed. The girls were mostly strangers, but they found a way to come together and learn more about each other. Most of the cast members are new to the scene, and the show helped debut some of the cast, but a few of them have appeared in several shows. Today, we're going to look at The Wilds cast guide. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We are giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice, so be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. The first on our list is Sarah Pigeon, and she portrays Leah Rilke in The Wilds. The 23-year-old plays a character suffering from heartbreak, and her plotline revolves around a relationship with a famous author who is 20 years older than her. Leah sees her classmate, Fatin Jadmani, as familiar, in the sense that Fatin is confident about her sexuality, while Leah is just beginning to explore her romantic interests before the plane crash. Sarah has big picture thoughts about The Wilds, and how the show relates to what teenage girls go through today. You're watching these girls, and you're at the beginning of a lifetime of heartbreak and struggle, she says. And since it's the first time to experience a lot of those emotions, it has really heightened. These girls are still dealing with the effects of what happened in their everyday lives, and it's just heightened by the fact that it's still chasing them on the island. You may have seen Sarah previously in shows like Gotham and $1. She graduated from Carnegie Mellon in 2018. Next up is Sophia Ali as Fatin Jadmani. In the first episode, Fatin Jadmani is described as a character who knows who she is and is comfortable with sex and her body. According to Sophia, Fatin is just very unapologetically herself. Despite her strict background, she is still very open about her sexuality, her body, and her style. From their stay on the island, it's safe to say Fatin does this for herself because there were no men there, but she's still bothered about her attractiveness. Sophia is a California native and is Pakistani American. You may recognize her from her stint on Grey's Anatomy as Dr. Dahlia Kadri. She's also acted in some other movies like Famous in Love, Truth or Dare, and Everybody Wants Some. Next is Rain Edwards, who is played by Rachel Reid. In the first episode, Rachel Reid is introduced as a competitive diver who prioritizes her sport. She is also seen as a careful eater as she weighs food before she eats it, but her character exceeds her eating habits. It's not even just so much about her eating, it's about the pressure of being an athlete and how she knows people are looking at her, Rain says. Not necessarily for just her performance abilities, but it goes so deep into how she looks. Aside from her love for the sport, Rachel also has a close relationship with her twin sister, Nora, and they show us the love between siblings. Rain has also acted in The Bold and the Beautiful and is a recurring character in FX Snowfall and CBS's MacGyver. Up next is Helena Howard as Nora Reid. Nora is one half of a set of fraternal twins with Raina Edwards, Rachel, and their pair is pretty important on the show. Nora is seen as fairly shy and she focuses more on reading by herself than trying to fit in with the popular kids. According to Helena, the relationship with her sister, Rachel, is one that grows beautifully and develops not just for Nora, but also for Rachel. Their stay on the island also helped them to know more about each other, and Nora also got some lessons on self-growth from her relationships on the island. You may also recognize Helena from other movies, as she has appeared in Netflix's Social Distance, as well as the Quibi series, Don't Look Deeper, and the 2018 Miranda July film, Madeline's Madeline. Next up is Mia Healey, who portrays Shelby Goodkind's character. Shelby is a Texas beauty pageant queen with sincerity and secrets behind her pageant smile. According to Maya, there's a lot of things that we uncover throughout the season that will shape who she is behind closed doors. Shelby is open about her Christian faith and works to be optimistic on the island. Her initial pair is with Dot Campbell, Shannon Barry, a classmate she doesn't know too well. Still, they are brought together to survive. I have so much fun playing Shelby. I'm really honored because she's got so much depth and so much darkness and so much lightness. So it's been really fun to be able to play both of those with her. Maya, who was born in Sydney, Australia, graduated from the National Institute of Dramatic Art in 2018. The Wilds is her first major role. One of Maya's best shows is Netflix's Sex Education, and she talked about being thankful for different kinds of storytelling on screen. I definitely wish that I had seen shows that were like The Wilds that had all these women supporting women, she adds, and it wasn't driven by heterosexual relationships relationships, and it wasn't driven by sex and the male gaze. I never saw anything like that. It was always about heterosexual couples at one point or another in any show. Next is Shannon Barry as Dot Campbell. In Dot, we see a character who is tough on the outside and quite certain about who she is. Though she goes to school with Shelby in Texas, she's a world away from her in terms of demeanor. From the pilot, we get to see Dot for the independent lady that she is, and her independence partially comes from taking care of her sick father. When Shannon spoke about Dot, she said, "She's his source of stability and his source of life. All that she has is her father, and everything that she does is for him." Then on the island, all of a sudden, her father is taken out of the equation, and him not being there with her, she wants to get away from that caregiver role, but finds that she can't. But through interacting with all these other women, she starts to learn from them how she can live with herself and what it means to have a life outside of her dad and outside of being the fixer. Basically, she just learns how to take control of her own happiness. Being on the island gave Dot growth and liberation. It showed her a different side of life that she didn't know she could also live. Shannon, who grew up in Perth, Australia, began her career with the series Offspring, and she has also appeared in Romper Stomper. Next is Jenna Claus, who plays Martha Blackburn. In the wilds, Martha Blackburn is a Native American teenager from Minnesota who is best friends with Toni Shalifoe, played by Erana James. Jenna herself is Native American, a Cayuga Nation Wolf Clan member of the Haudenosaunee people from Six Nations Reserve located in Ontario, Canada. The Wilds is her first major project. When the audience first meets Martha, she seems to be quiet, which is quite the opposite of her best friend Toni. Jenna says, "When you first begin to introduce yourself to her, I think what you really need to understand at first is that she's very fragile and that she has a best friend." Martha and Toni share a strong bond, and they always support each other. Here's a fact you didn't know about Martha's in-depth episode. It was directed by a Native American woman, Sydney Freeland, who is Navajo. And according to Jenna, it was the best decision and it made things easier on set. "She's been really understanding with what I mean in terms of how sensitive I want to be with things," Jenna says. Up next is Toni Shalifoe's character in The Wilds, which was played by 21-year-old Erana James. Her character is seen as strong-willed and ready to take action, especially when it involves defending Martha, who is her best friend. Erana described Toni by saying, "She's a firecracker, very passionate, very fiery. I say passionate, some would say full of rage, but obviously that's a front for whatever she's been thrown at in her life. She has an immense love and loyalty, mainly for Martha." She goes ahead to say more about The Wilds as well. "You see the 3 different timelines, and so you see the problems they face on the island and where they've come from, and it highlights so many different struggles that people go through in their adolescent years," Erana says. She also praises the show's diversity. Just being able to look at somebody on screen and be like, "It's such a diverse cast." Being able to be like, "Oh, I can relate to you because I look like you." That's really special. She has acted in a couple of movies, and her most recent is the Australian series My Life is Murder and the New Zealand comedy Golden Boy. She's been an actor for several years, having made her movie debut in 2017's The Changeover. Up next is Rachel Griffin as Gretchen Klein. Her character is the ambitious, intelligent leader of the Dawn of Eve, a girls' empowerment retreat that the girls are headed to when their plane crashes. But there's more to her character than we see. The most groundbreaking part of the show for her is seeing the diverse representations of the young female experience, she says. How director Sarah Stryker deconstructs every girl. You might judge her, and it's not until episode 3 or 5 or 7 that her backstory is revealed. It provides this incredible context for what she's responding to in the world, and her peers, and her relationship with herself. Gretchen advised her son to plead guilty after a fraternity pledge had died during a hazing. Rachel Griffith has starred in other movies like 6 Feet Under, Brothers and Sisters, Hillary, and Jackie the Rookie. That's a wrap for today's video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you stick around for more exciting videos on this channel.